Hi, I'm an independent wrestler, Big Mama, and you need to support independent wrestling because we know how to kick butts, take names right in front of your faces, not a million feet away.
I'm your host, Vinny Berry. This is Indie City, a product of wrestleville.com and part of the Fans First Sports Network, where you can find this episode where you download your favorite podcast or at wrestleville.com. So I've been wanting to start a new show for some time now, and I've put some thought into it and really tried to put some planning and some how I wanted to deliver the show Indie City. This is the first episode. And my thoughts are to put a spotlight on independent wrestlers that are wrestling in the United States and around the world, to put a little more attention on them, maybe talk about some of their highlights, just let the fans know who these wrestlers are. If you're in another state or in another country and you hear a wrestler that I'm talking about and you may not know who they are, this may be the incentive for you to go look that person up. So it's to grow wrestling, to put a spotlight on the wrestlers in the business, and to let the listener know that there's a lot of great talent out there on the independent scene. So this first episode, I am going to feature 3 wrestlers. One is a young lady from Texas. Her name is Mia Friday. Another gentleman is Elijah Drago. He is from Kiev, Ukraine, and he is now in Georgia training at the Monster Factory. And my third wrestler we're going to speak about today is Cadie Tre. He is from Adelaide, Australia, the southern bottom part of the country. We'll go ahead and we'll start with my first wrestler, who is Mia Friday, a young lady from Bryan, Texas. She trains at the Lion's Den training facility under Houston Carson. And he started training around 13, 14 years old. She is now currently 18 years old. She has about 4 to 5 years of wrestling experience. 3 years of that is her as a professional. When you look at her record, and if you go to Cage Match and see some of the people that she has wrestled against and worked with, people like Roxana Perez, Rachel Rose, Ray Lynn, Promise Braxton, Zoe Sky, the list really goes on and on. Ivelisse, so she has been in with some very talented people. She has worked against some top female stars in the business. One thing that really stands out to me was that in the summer of 2023, she had the opportunity to go to Japan, and she wrestled in 2 tag team matches, and she trained over there. She was over there for a couple weeks. And as a young lady in the business going to Japan at 18 years old, I thought to myself, wow, this is an excellent opportunity for her, and she can only go up from there. I think she has good training. I think she has good ring awareness. I think she has the ability. She is definitely a fan favorite. She is babyface is babyface can be. The fans love her. She works good, and she's really fun to watch. Very energetic, very physical, and with the training that she has, I really do believe that this young lady is going to go a long, long way. If you want to look her up, You can find her on Cage Match, and she also has some matches on YouTube. There's one on there with Rachel Rose, Ivelisse, and anything you can watch, any match that she has with Alejandra Leona or MJ Santana. And I think her work is spectacular, and it really does speak for itself. And here is a soundbite of her talking on the Wrestleville podcast about her time in Japan.
I thought it was going to be like super difficult. Like the weeks leading up to it, I was going so hard at training, so hard at the gym. And I got there, and it's kind of like the same thing that Carson teaches. They were just really like emphasizing the basics. I'm like, oh, we're doing basics. Like I got y'all, you know? And like obviously like they didn't speak too much English, but they were basically like good job. Like if we were just making sure we had our basics down, and like Carson, like he really just emphasizes like make them basics mean something. So I really like stuck out to the class, and we pretty much do the same type of stuff here in Texas, but obviously with like all of like the little Japan twists on it. We do a lot of like neck exercises, a lot of things to strengthen our necks, which like they really hurt in the moment. But I see why we do that. That's something that like honestly we could bring back to I feel like we should bring that back to the US, because I mean too many neck injuries. Over there, they just be dropping each other on their necks and like never get hurt. So I see why they do that. And over there, a lot of it was working with Mio Shirai, which is Io Sky's older sister. And so I also got a lot of good advice from her and everything.
Oh, I bet. From anyone over there though, really, right? Because I mean, there's the wrestling tradition is pretty strong over there. And I'm sure you got to see that in the dojo where you were working, right?
Oh yeah, I loved it. It was so weird to meet how much the fans and just everybody respected pro wrestling so much. It's just so much respect in all of it. And on top of that, like the fans give you all these gifts, I was like, man, like I never got any gifts before, but like I didn't understand it. Like they were giving me like just drinks and stuff and just all these different types of gifts. And I asked Yappy, I was like, what is this? They're like, oh, like, they just come to support. And I'm like, man, in Texas, like people pay their $10 to watch the show, and then like they're there. So it was so great to see all that.
Read about the Northern Wrestling Federation in the book presented by wrestleville.com, The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 2. Hear the story of Roger Ruffin, the man who trained Carl Anderson, the Monster Abyss, Jordan Clearwater, Chris Harris, and Jillian Hall.
Plus 45 other short stories, including Jazz, Bobby Eaton, Kamala, Thunder Rosa, Mario Mancini, Scott Casey, PJ Black, Kerry Morton, Sal Renaro, Jeremiah Plunkett, Colby Carino, Bam Bam Malone, and many others.
Get your book today at wrestleville.com. Wrestleville. It's where wrestling lives.
My next wrestler I want to talk about is Elijah Drago. He's a professional wrestler from Kiev, Ukraine, and his story is a little bit of a sad one. His country was invaded by Russia, and his family left their country and came to the United States. When I was talking to him, he told me, he says, hey, wrestling is not my dream, it's my goal, and he says, that's what I'm working at. That's what I want to do. And why I'm here, I'm going to make the best of this opportunity. He ended up going to Georgia, and he met with the gentleman at the Nightmare Factory. He has spent some time with Billy Gunn, QT Marshall, and Cody Rhodes when he is in town, and they've helped him with his in-ring ability, his ability to develop a good promo, his ring appearance, his ring awareness. And I've talked to him, and he told me that he didn't like a lot of the stuff that a lot of the matches that are on YouTube. He's not really pleased with them. But if you're interested in checking him out, there is a match on there with QT Marshall, and I think it is very good, and I think you would enjoy that. And I've enjoyed watching the other matches. He hasn't been wrestling very long. He has only been wrestling a year. He is signed for like a developmental contract with AEW, and he is wrestling on some dark matches for that company. I like the fact that he looks like $1 million. He is a very big dude. He is a heel wrestler, and he comes off very arrogant and assured of himself. However, he was very nice when I had him on my show. So I like Elijah for his size, and I think he also too has a very promising career. And this is a take from the interview that we did this past spring on the Wrestleville podcast. How did you find the Nightmare Factory?
I know some guy, and like I just try to find some schools. When I like originally go to Seattle, Washington, I fly there, and I just try to find some schools to wrestle. But it was like hard to find something really like good to work and train. But like I met some guys, and they tell me that I need to go to the Georgia to Nightmare Factory, because they will see me, they will know how to work with me, and they definitely help me to like succeed like in my career. So it's mean about like Cody Rhodes, QT Marshall, and Billy Gunn. This is like, especially QT Marshall and Billy Gunn. This is my two mentors, coaches, and they like help to build myself like as a real professional wrestler, as a real pro. So I'm very grateful for that. It's the best place in America. Like I never was in like Black and Brave, like Seth Rollins school or Booker T, reality of wrestling, but I guarantee you, with the mind of QT Marshall, he's like underrated genius. People just don't know him in person. He has so much passion and so great mind about wrestling business that like it's unmatched. And Billy Gunn is the legend that know everything about wrestling. He have like 35 years experience, and he helped me so much. So he built me, he trained me so much to help me, you know, like to be where I want to be. And it's the best place.
The Pro Wrestling Vault. 35 short stories including Harley Race, Barrett Brown, Ricky Morton, Wardell Walker, Tracy Smothers, and Tim Storm. Along with 400 photos from the independent scene. Get your book today by going to wrestleville.com.
Wrestleville, it's where wrestling lives.
The next wrestler I'd like to talk about is a young man named Cadie Tre. He is a professional wrestler from Adelaide, South Australia. He has been wrestling for about 10 years, and I discovered him by reading the Pro Wrestling Illustrated. He was in the Pro Wrestling 500, and I was intrigued by his little write-up, and I went to go ahead and check out some of his matches, and I ended up finding him on Facebook, and we set up an interview. I enjoy watching this guy work. His delivery and his promos, I think, is spot on. I like how he plays to the crowd. He is a rough and tough individual. He doesn't take crap from anybody, and he can dish it out. And I, get excited when I watch wrestlers of his caliber. It's just one of those tough as nail kind of guys, right? There's some matches on YouTube if you want to go see some of his work. There's quite a few matches on YouTube. A few that I've watched and I felt like they stood out to me was one with Jeff Armstrong and one with Matt Hayter. And there is another one on there with Tony Toro, which is a dog collar match. And he told me that there's another dog collar match on there with a gentleman named Acid Hayes that he thinks is just as good or a little bit better. I have not been able to find that match. However, I think the one with Tony Toro is amazing. I've seen a few dog collar matches, and this has got to be one of the best. Next to the Roddy Piper, Greg Valentine dog collar match, this is pretty damn good.
My style is pretty, I would say like I'm much more of a brawler, if anything, but I do like to wrestle. I'm like a hybrid, realistically. I could adjust to any style, but I'm doing the style that fits the persona that I'm playing at the moment. I am probably the most hated wrestler at RCW at the moment. I'm their current champion. I'm the top of the card. So I have to assert dominance. And the way that I do that is by just beating my opponent down to the ground. It's the easiest way. And if I can't beat them down, then I'll tackle them down, wrestle them to the ground. And if they get back up, I'll drop them on their head until I win the match. And I'll be real, the easiest way to win a match is to cheat. You know, well, they call it cheating. I call it outsmarting them, because it's only cheating if you get caught. And so far, I haven't been caught. That's why I'm still the champion after 300 plus days. So, yeah, I guess my style, you'd say it's a strategic brawler. That's the way I'd put it.
It's a good way of putting it.
These are three wrestlers that I've highlighted on the show today. I hope that you will look these wrestlers up. I hope that you have the opportunity to see these wrestlers in person if they are ever in your area. I think they're spectacular. And I hope that also, too, that if you're listening to this show for the first time, that you will support independent wrestling. If you have independent wrestling in your town, in your county, anywhere within driving, please check out and support independent wrestling. You'll may be surprised of who you may see on the card, and you may be surprised where they're at in a few years. You know, this is the heartbeat of professional wrestling, and I really hope that you would go out and support the young guys and gals grinding it out on the independent circuit. If you are interested in me spotlighting a professional wrestler, please contact me at wrestlevilleusa@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook as Vincent Berry. And please go to wrestleville.com, and you can also contact me there as well. I hope that you've enjoyed the show. I hope that you would support independent wrestling. And I hope that you'll go out and follow the wrestlers that I spoke about today. Thank you very much. You're listening to Indie City. It is where wrestling lives.